Assalamu alaikum and welcome to a special show on Zionism, Christian Zionism in Africa. Tonight we'll be exploring the relationship between Uganda's liberation movement and the Israeli Zionist movement. To what extent is this just another face of something we know far too well, and that is the colonial relationship between the countries of the North and Africa? Uganda's relationship with Israel is one of the strangest diplomatic love stories in Africa because it isn't just one story. In fact, it's several, and often they contradict each other. Israel actually courted Uganda, and even before independence in 1962, afterwards came Idi Amin, who in 1972 severed ties completely, and in that same nationalist fervor expelled Uganda's entire Asian population. 4 years later came the Entebbe raid, where Israeli commanders rescued hijacked hostages in an operation still remembered today. For over 2 decades after that, Uganda and Israel had no relationship at all until ties were fully restored in 1994. And under President Yoweri Museveni, an evangelical Christian himself, that relationship has grown into one of the warmest on the continent, with Museveni and Netanyahu exchanging state visits and Netanyahu calling the bond founded on scripture. Underneath the diplomacy, a Christian Zionist movement has taken hold in Uganda's Pentecostal and born again churches. The belief that supporting Israel is a biblical duty. Critics argue that it actually borrows the language of Black liberation and struggle, which actually redirects its loyalty towards a foreign state and towards the same government critics accuse of eroding Uganda's own democracy at home. My guest today knows that erosion firsthand. Samuel Kisitu, known as Freeman, is a Toronto based Ugandan documentary filmmaker, visual artist, and activist. He fled Uganda in 2019 after his work with the People Power movement, which grew into the National Unity Platform, and that made him a target under Museveni's government. He now serves as NUP Canada's media coordinator, and his films, including Reclaiming the Real Wakanda and his work on refugee and homelessness experiences in Toronto, confront displacement, injustice, and the unfinished promise of Ugandan democracy, a struggle his own parents were decorated for continuing before him. Samuel, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mariam.
Samuel,
Mariam, thank you very much for inviting me here. Yes.
it's a pleasure to have you. I think before we get to Israel and Uganda, Samuel, in particular, tell us briefly about what led you to flee Uganda in 2019 and exactly what your activism with the People Power movement was actually pushing back against.
Yes. My name is Samuel Kisitu, as I've been introduced. I come from Uganda, from Luwero Triangle, from Luwero District. Luwero District is popularly known as the center point of what is historically known as the Luwero Triangle. The Luwero Triangle. So the Luwero Triangle are the places or the neighboring districts that really form or remembered to be much affected even if it's people to be much involved in the 1981 to 1986 Luwero Triangle War that brought President Museveni to power. My parents participated in that war. Of course, as many other veterans, Luwero Triangle War veterans, my parents, led by my grandfather Eusania Kisitu, who named me after his name, Kisitu, led his family into the war when he was mobilized or recruited to support the liberation struggle when Museveni had just started has just entered the bush, trying to do his mobilization in different ways, in different places of Wedo Triangle, places of Kanyanda, Makulubita. He landed on my late grandfather, Elsania Kisitu, who joined wholeheartedly. And during the war, he participated, like many other Royal Triangle veterans. His role, he participated, he contributed the food items, beans, cassava, potatoes. He continued to, in the letters that I read, when he's actually demanding His Excellency, demanding President Museveni to contribute back or to give him back to help him rebuild his life. The letters I really read when I grew up after becoming the heir of my father, and yet my father, Setimba Ronald, was also the heir of my late grandfather, Elsania Kisitu. So the letters they leave behind, trying to seek government support in rebuilding their lives after the war. Those letters show me the affliction, show me their roles, what they gave in their life, they apart from their lives, what materially they gave in, even the skills, because my late grandfather was the had the skills of mechanic, repairing artillery that was once left or abandoned by the Obote's soldiers in the areas of Mondulani camp. This is recorded and confirmed by different officials of that time. So after reading those letters, and also within the realizing the life we had that was not present, we're struggling to live after the late of our two parents, and also learning the stories of the traumatic stories of the murder of a brother to my father, late Rama Livingston. Really, I got affected by the intergenerational war trauma. Not that I was in the war, because I was born 1989, but those conversations really affected me. The hit had on me, and caused me to demand for justice. At first, I thought that, I have to support the government that my parents earlier supported to liberate the country. Can I call it the national cake? I thought that I would be part of those people who would enjoy this Uganda that Museveni had earlier supported, because things were not bad in the 90s. There was a lot of hope for very many people that, including our families, including the people. As I dive into my career as a filmmaker, I have had the interviews, I have watched interviews, read books like the Untold Story. It should be noted that there was the promise of hope in the early 90s when Museveni had just become,
If,
just
if
overpowered.
I could If I could just interject there, Samuel, thank you so much. What you're painting for us at the moment is really a generational inheritance of liberation and a fight for freedom and justice. And so that brings me to the question as to how does that family history shape how you see Museveni's government today, and particularly its foreign relationships? So how does this legacy that you are such a big part of in terms of inheriting the stories of your grandparents and your parents, how do they shape the way you see Museveni's government today?
Yes. First of all, from that background, I took up the responsibility to a civic responsibility to decide whether to support the government in power. Yes, I did when I was innocent. I supported the government by way of participating in the NRM. In the NRM primaries, when I had just finished high school, I was the youth. I participated in youth leadership. Then I even once contested for the position of electoral position of councillor for the Namasab County in Mukono district. Standing for the district of councillor now opens my mind to the world and to view what the world thinks about NRM. Many people really wanted to support me, but they didn't want to support me in this party. Why? Because they were looking at a young youth who would really see things that affected Ugandans the way they see them, the need and the desire for the change. But again, in my view and opinion, I had something I was carrying. Was it the legacy of my parents? I decided even to decorate before I decided even to write letters demanding for compensations. First of all, started demanding for compensation and demanding for compensations, even reconstruction of the house of my late parent that building from the requests that were earlier put by my parents in the face of government to rebuild their lives and housing issues. With that story, or with those experiences, I now realize how tough the experience of veterans and their children, how the promises were not fulfilled. And with that, now I faced Uganda like any other youth. Unemployment, lack of access to opportunities, the favoritism of certain groups and tribes, as the Baganda were much affected by the person, by the same government they really brought in power. But us, the children, were affected much more because we didn't want to start from zero. We thought we would start where our parents had built. So now in my journey, after losing the election, I now listen to the voices that call me to be on the side of the opposition. The leading party was Democratic Party. Democratic Party was, can I say, the leading opposition next to FDC, Forum for Democratic Change. So I chose this Democratic Party because it was one of the indigenous parties earlier started by the Baganda people, Paul Kawanga Semogerere, and many others. So in my participation around in my participation, or before I really now switched to the opposition through the Democratic Party, my letters had ripped to meet President Museveni, to be decorated by my parents' Narubare Medal of Honor. Now, if you ask me, how does my family's history really impact me? The message that comes with the Narubare Medal of Honor recognizes civilian veterans, their participation and sacrifice in the war that brought President Museveni to power. That message sink in my heart, thinking that I am part of this rich history, recognized, coming from the family recognized for for the work they did, for their civic work. But in reality, facing the reality of what represented the Nalubare Medal, what the Nalubare Medal was representing, things or the legacy from time to time continued fading from the years. It's now 40 years, but this legacy, it took years really to understand how it was fading and why we needed a change. Here come Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine, who was a singer, his real name is Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. He mobilizes the youth in 2017 when he became the MP for Kyadondo East, the Member of Parliament for Kyadondo East. He also came with a campaign, or the Tojikwatako campaign. This campaign was intending to stop the removal of age limit bill. The age limit. So there was a bill put in place, which was to be voted upon by the MPs that would determine the removal of age limit so that President Museveni could continue to lead Uganda until death. That also stuck in my heart, and I got inspired to be part of this noble campaign that would determine either the power belongs to the people, it belongs to us, the generations, or it continues to stay in the hands of the people who we think they should rest, because they once said that we are that generation of Museveni and our parents. They once said that we are the leaders of the future, and the question of the day was, where is the future if it's not today? So we thought that is our time to now start taking the power into our hands to determine what would be the life we can live as Ugandans. Unfortunately,
Samuel,
yeah.
I'm sorry to interject there. We're certainly talking about the fight that against Museveni's grip on power. I think that's, the through line that's going through this entire topic today as we relate it then back to Israel. If you wouldn't mind, we just take a quick ad break and we will continue with your story on how you became an opposition member. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much too.
Across Sudan, starvation is tightening its grip. With rising food prices and widespread malnutrition, 8.7 million people are now facing emergency or famine-level hunger. As the conflict intensifies and aid routes narrow, families in Sudan are running out of options and time. The Al-Imdad Foundation is delivering life-saving humanitarian aid to those most at risk. Stand with Sudan. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Are you banking with convenience, transparency, and flexibility? With Al Baraka Bank's transactional banking account, you can enjoy convenient everyday banking designed around your needs. Benefit from zero fees on point-of-sale transactions and manage your banking easily through Al Baraka's secure mobile banking app and internet banking platform. From everyday payments to managing your personal or business banking, Al Baraka makes banking simple, transparent, and convenient. Visit albaraka.co.za to learn more. Al Baraka, your partner bank. Al Baraka Bank Limited is an authorized financial services and credit provider.
Right now, in lands many of us feel deeply connected to, a mother holds a sick child, worried and fearful as she knows her nearest hospital has been destroyed. This is the mother we go beyond borders to reach. Doctors Without Borders is there in the world's toughest places. We go where others can't or won't, and we go immediately. When you give to us, we go even further. Visit msf.org.za/sadaqa, that's SADAQAH, and support Doctors Without Borders today. Doctors Without Borders, we go there.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to our special show on Zionism in Uganda, the role of Christian Zionism, and indeed on decolonialization within the current context that we find ourselves in, with Israel doing more and more to gain allies on the African continent. We go back to our special guest, Samuel Kisitu, also known as Freeman, who's coming to us from Toronto, a man in exile, a documentary filmmaker who's dedicated his life to telling the story of the traditional organizations in Uganda that were actually the kingmakers of liberation, and what has happened after those after the liberation years, and basically looking at to what extent can we call current African leaders legitimate if the erosion of democracy is as it is. Welcome back, Samuel.
Thank you very much, Mariam.
Thank you. Please continue about how you had become an opposition member, moving from being very pro-Museveni, obviously taking in your family's legacy, to then becoming an opposition figure.
Yes. With my family's legacy being bestowed with the Naluvale Medal. This Naluvale Medal is awarded to civilians activists who have contributed to the political development of Uganda, either through armed struggle or civil disobedience, right from colonial times to date. That was enough to teach me that in my work, I should be aware of what colonialism means. So, as I continue to recognize the Naluvale Medal, now I jump on the new political movement, the People Power Movement, adopting the red beret, not as soldiers. We are popularly known as foot soldiers. We are soldiers without guns. We are soldiers who speak and speak. Unfortunately, yes, we can have the freedom of speak, but not the freedom after speaking. We are soldiers who reach out to our comrades, friends, and relatives who have been much affected, who some have died in the struggle, others have been abducted, others are still in the prisons. We are the soldiers who demand for their freedom. So, with that background of 2017, Bobi Wine rallying us to reject the age limit bill, I was once traveling back from Kampala, and when I was going back to Kanyanda, after work, I found two men who attacked me, who questioned my resistance, my activism, and while denouncing President Museveni in what he called his Mecca, the Muslim house for the Mecca in Saudi Arabia. Ruero is Museveni's Mecca as his state seat. But actually, when you go back, it's one of the most underdeveloped places in Uganda. So the question is that, did we fight another man's war? The impact that the impact that the negative impact that affected my parents, including the death and loss of property, now comes back to me, their children, or their son. These men attacked me and beat me without helping myself. I was stayed unconscious, left for dead in a coffee plantation. It was one. Until the woman who was a neighbor who became the whistleblower, while she was going to fetch water, she finds me helpless, and I was taken for hospitalization and medication. That was a signal that my life is in danger. I started processing ways to get out of the country. Back in 2018, I applied for the visa to go to the US. It didn't happen. I was rejected. I applied for the visa to come to Canada early 2019. The visa was rejected. It was later in September 2019 when, after receiving a visa, I was able to come to Canada. To come to Canada for asylum, for protection, to start again. So, on arrival to Canada, I left behind the dream which we had to fulfill. So, the geographical locations changed. That an activist who was in Uganda, in Africa, is now based in Toronto, trying to find his own settlement, yet not leaving or abandoning the dream of a new Uganda. So from here, I continued my work. When in Toronto, continued my work, trying to find community, the Ugandan community, coming to colonialism and Christian Zionism. We can't fail to now examine the role of the church and the role of religion in the political.
That's actually a question that I want to pose to you in a more direct way, Samuel. Yes. I'm sorry to intercede. As you've said, Museveni has been in power since 1986. So yes. That's, basically before you were born even. So his public alignment with the Christian Zionist network and with Israel, do you think that it's simply to sustain legitimacy, or is there something very real about the belief system, the Christian belief system that he is espousing that resonates with Ugandans?
Well, I can say that the politics of Uganda has been nurtured around kingdoms, nurtured around religious institutions. From colonial times, when we saw the missionaries, from after the missionaries, from the colonial times, we saw how the missionaries and the Arab traders really brought Islam, and it really brought these debates whether even the king has to be a Muslim or Christian. So that is the history we really carry. Now the British, from Britain, with the British bringing British influence in Uganda, and control, they did not come direct. They used the church. with that background, I can say that Museveni studied the colonial administration, and just now he's worsening it. He's perfecting it, if that is the word. We are seeing another colonialist of our color. The divide and rule, the use of the churches, and the use of those allies that afflict Ugandans. For him to just overstay in power in what he intends, life presidents and family rule. So, looking at the Christian Zionism, we shouldn't forget the history, the attempt of finding an homeland. For the attempt by the Israelites or the Jews to find an homeland in Uganda. That history is there. We also don't need to forget the attempt. We don't need to forget the opposition and the resilience of political figures like Idi Amin. Of course, Idi Amin, he's remembered in negative and positive ways. But one of the legacy that we should remember, that should be remembered on Idi Amin, is his stand with the Palestine. Why? Because as the filmmakers, gave their film a title that No Other Land. You will remember that film recently taking the stage in 2024 at the Oscars. No Other Land. The Palestinians have their land, and the Jews, the Israelites, want to take it over. Idi Amin did not support that. Idi Amin did not support that, and when Museveni was fighting Idi Amin, was fighting Obote to take power, he had to side with Amin's so-called enemies, because Amin was a threat to the Israelites. We all remember. And so what Museveni did, he continued, he took a strategy of befriending Israel to fight Idi Amin and other allies to fight Idi Amin. So his strategy was the center, was the time of opening doors for Christian Zionism. Like he did welcome back the Ugandan Indians after Idi Amin has expelled them for reasons we best understand by the world. We see Museveni now befriending these Ugandan Indians now to really bring them back to support him overstay in power. So, speaking, with your question that is it benefiting Museveni? Yes, it's benefiting Museveni. I have shared to you the census, the population census of 2024. Yes, 2024. And I've showed you the religious demographics. You could see the number of what I want to call Christians is around 80%. And it is within these populations, the churches that crop up like mushrooms all over Uganda, that this, as Christian Zionism is undercover being built. I used to be a Christian. In fact, this topic really came at a time when I am now freeing my mind. Some people call me and ask me that Samuel Kisitu, are you still a Freeman? Yes. being a Freeman is something which I work upon every day. When I just entered Canada, fleeing Uganda, I thought now I'm a Freeman. That's why I gave myself that name as part of my liberation process. Very personal, because it starts with me, freeing myself and the mind. But in my journey, I want to appreciate the church, Dominion Church International Toronto, for hosting me. When I was homeless, I slept there. To better understand settlement of refugees, I went to Ottawa to be part of the Ugandan Indians when they were celebrating 50 years. And I saw, I was witness to testimonies, including the role of the Ismaila community, of course, Muslim-based community that helped them settle. But you see, we should now, let us not misunderstand kindness with the control, kindness or compassion with the colonialism. The two have to be well-defined and have to be put in their places. If I am in need, I'm in danger, and you welcome me with a humanitarian heart. But when you want to take away my language, my food, my spirituality, my blackness, or my African indigenuity, then it means now you are colonizing me. It is hard.
So I think, Samuel,
to decide to now go back to my roots, to stop or to convert from Christianity to come back to what I call the African traditional spirituality, which is partially represented by this Orubugo or the backcloth, or even, as you can see me, this was once money. So apart from just wearing the beret, now I am decolonizing, where at Sankofa Square, which with a place which really means Sankofa, the term which means return to your roots, reclaim the good in your past, use it to shape the future. So, thank you for this topic. Christian Zionism. It is something, by the way, many activists can be my witness that we have been in the same boat, underlooking the role of Christianity or Christian Zionism, as we can put in the role of the Roman Church, Catholic Church, the role of Anglican Church, the role of the Orthodox, the role of, so many groups form a large percentage of Ugandan population. Yet, I would think, like, as Africans, we would have traditional believers taking a high percentage, let's say 80%, and we have 20% of the foreign religious denominations. But I want to show you that this is a rich topic to really explore and see how it has led to the overstay of dictators, not only in Uganda, and how we can really combat the reality, to change the reality, and fight back to reclaim our land. Like I said, no other land. Like my colleague, the filmmaker. Actually, I have to make a moment of silence for him because he was killed for his work. One of the filmmakers of that documentary film, he was killed. So the point I'm bringing, that we see how the church played a role in this genocide. You get a point. We continue to see all these things really happening. And moreover, when we continue to look at the international justice, ICJ is International Justice Commission, IJC?
The International Court of Justice.
International Court of Justice. Our sister, Julia Sebutinde, was not ashamed. She wasn't ashamed to side by Israel in this genocide. So now this is breaking our hearts, that even the people who we call elites, now that is where actually this Christian Zionism, it's taking the political parties, the elites communities, what you can call the so-called professionals, academicians, the people we think they reason well. They are not reasoning. They're reasoning well in front of money, and without money, their humanism, their humanity is corrupted. But Desmond Tutu said it well, and Nelson Mandela said it well. The spirit of Ubuntu. I am because we all are. How can you support the genocide when you even a mother? How can you support genocide when you're even a father and you fail to talk the truth? So it is that there are those experiences that really come to build up from the already lingering war trauma that we carry from the wars, like the Royal Triangle Bush War. Look at the Joseph Kony war in northern Uganda. Look at the Kasese war. The Kasese massacre, when they attacked the Omumbere, Masakabi, Jambia. And our neighbors, look at Congo, look at Rwanda, look at Sudan, look at what's happening in South Sudan. The stage is taken by world making as war making. War making as world making. And we're saying no. Today's Africa deserves world makers, not war makers. So that is why we go and use all ways to see that if even God was abducted, if God was imprisoned, if God was murdered, for us, in our spirituality, we say the dead are not dead. Now we have to call our ancestors to continue even fighting with them in these battles, because we remember the histories like the one of Chibuko Mumbari. We remember these continue to be fighters, but the religion has come, the Christian Zionism come and say, this is Satan. Denounce your parents. Don't go back to your roots. We are resisting, and that's why even if I will stand one, but with the work I have already read, I am not one. We are many, but we need more education and more sensitization of our people to free their mind of Christian Zionism, eating them up on their futures.
Samuel, you have really raised so many interesting themes here, because as you speak, I just feel the layers of irony coming through. We're talking about Christianity being used as a political tool for domination and the maintenance of power. And yet Palestine is the heart of Christianity. If you're thinking about Jesus, peace be upon him's birthplace, and the fact that Christian Palestinians are constantly under oppression, just as Muslim Palestinians are. So there is an extreme irony to the way in which Christian Zionism is being put forward, desensitizing it and decontextualizing it from the fact that the home of Christianity is actually under siege. How do people, or how does the clergy in Uganda reconcile that, if at all?
They have raped the values they preach. They have eaten their words. They have misbehaved. They are a nuisance. They are the betrayer of the very people they preach, they call congregations, they call sheep. How can you betray your sheep? They call us sheep. it's good that I've been there. You see, when the system is designed that you have to have a first name as a religious name and the last name is your family name, that's wrong. So when we decide to obey and read the Bible, attend Bible studies, and be part of this community, because it's the system in place. When you look at from colonial times, when from colonial times, when before independence, the schools which were built, you see, they designed a system because the basics of life, education, shelter, medical, they built these as Christian founded. You get a point? Many schools, many best schools, Budo, Namagunga, Kisubi, St. Mary's, they are around Christianity. Now, when you come to this modern Christianity, we have other schools led by the other schools and churches. Okay, not even, they call themselves cathedral, like that of Robert Kayanja, because he's a leading agent for Christian Zionism. I want to say that many times, even sadly, when we were getting independence, there was a motto of Uganda adopted: for God and my country. I pity what the meaning of that motto means to very many Ugandans that are afflicted by the regimes that have been changing from colonial times, from independence to date, because we've never had a peaceful transition of power. Now, the question of the day, if we are for God, if God comes first in this land, what is the meaning of God? We question God's existence in Uganda because the agents, God's agents, the pastors, the father, the agents, Bashitafe Mukatonda, our parents in the face of God, they have betrayed us. Because when
this is a really powerful point, Samuel. Yes. A really powerful point that I think should cause us to reflect in terms of our spirituality individually, whether it's Christian or Muslim or any other. To what extent do we actually espouse the characteristics and the essence of the religion? But before we can continue on looking at your work in particular, and I'm very excited about your project called Reclaiming the Real Wakanda, let us take a quick ad break again, and we can continue after that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
More than 800 million people around the world live in deep poverty, uncertain of where the next meal will come from. For those on the brink of starvation, a food pack means survival, dignity, and hope. Send food. Send kindness. Be the reason a family does not go hungry. Donate now to Islamic.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to our special edition of Zionism in Africa, looking at Uganda, Christian Zionism in particular. And our guest is Samuel Kisitu, actually known as Freeman because of his new status in Canada as a man in exile, fleeing the Yoweri Museveni regime, and also very active in terms of Palestinian solidarity work. So welcome back to the show. I think now what would be really good would be to look at your work and how this experience, or of your family, and indeed with interacting with others in exile, the Palestinian community, the Syrians, and so on in Canada, how that has shaped your perspective on what it means to be displaced and what belonging means to you. So your film, From Resilience in the City to your current project, Reclaiming the Real Wakanda, focus on displacement and exile. Can you tell us a bit about how Christian Zionism and Museveni's Uganda fit into that larger body of work? And to what extent have you been inspired or perhaps influenced by the Palestinian solidarity movement in Canada?
Well, thank you very much. My work, first of all, I want to come back with a thank you note that while we have religious leaders, faith leaders who have betrayed us, there are those who stick to the values of humanity, who even have supported people who don't even belong to their affiliations. Like you find a pastor who welcomes Muslims and give them a place to worship in the church, because I learned that the place where you can run when even you are facing immigration are the faith institutions. Many of our communities, in my experience, in my settlements here in Canada, many communities are really built around church, especially the Ugandan community. And I want to really applaud the Ugandan community leaders who are faith leaders who have helped our people. Recently, we had the refugee housing crisis, and many victims were Africans. And the churches opened their doors to host our people. I was part of them. I was part of the volunteers. I was on front line, and really, I remember that was a job that will be remembered in history of our settlement. So, my work is inspired by this. So many times I have been given a chance to speak, and other times there is no much, I mean, there's no time, there's no other times, there's no chance to speak. The question of the day is, who's meant to speak? That could be you or myself. But with my work started in 2020 with my community, my concern, as a civic duty, sharing the civic duty even from exile. I have been speaking out truth to power on mainstream media, including the Toronto Star, CBC News, CTV, Regent Park TV, and other local channels we have. They have been covering my work and spreading the word, helping us to spread the word around democracy, around the refugee, migration, settlement, work and housing, because there are times when I was homeless. So how does my work really connect to Christian Zionism? My work of reclaiming the real Wakanda is first of all inspired by very many factors and the features. The Wakanda movie that the world really knows, I mean, I've watched, it really shows the fiction story. But I want to applaud one writer, Jonathan Ali, who wrote an article in the Political magazine, The Real Wakanda. The title was The Real Wakanda, How an East African Kingdom Inspired Roosevelt to Reshape American Democracy. In general, his visit, when he came back, when he visited Uganda to just go hunt, because he likes hunting animals, the person who, Roosevelt, who was the really president of USA, apart from just looking for animals, enjoying the tropical climate and the mountains, the trees, he found this kingdom which was organized. Our kingdom, Buganda kingdom, organized around our clans, the language, what I can call the community cultural wealth that we really carry when everything is stolen. And the spirit of Ubuntu really inspired him to come back with a different language, the Luganda language. In his comments, even was controversial because now he sides with the civil movements that were promoting the African and the Black American place in USA and the entire West at large. Well, I thought that is a story that people should learn, like Christian Zionism. That also really inspired me now to really. Now I was looking, I was imagining in my artistic career, because from Uganda, I read when I was a teacher of fine art. Now, while taking my art from classroom now to community building, I now think that we have to educate our people where they started, what the news will not tell them. We have to tell them through documentary films. That is how really I came to think about doing a documentary around reclaiming the real Wakanda.
And Samuel, you have actually left us on a bit of a cliffhanger. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but I think we'll definitely be having another conversation looking at this particular article that you mentioned and the influence that the Buganda Kingdom has had on modern American democracy. I mean, who would have thought? This is definitely something we need to follow up on. But I thank you sincerely from the Salam Media team and everyone else here. Thank you for being our guest and for opening and enlightening us on a topic that definitely has not been explored enough. All the best to you, Samuel. We hope to speak to you again.
Thank you very much. I will continue to to explore Christian Zionism, to really continue to look at the spirituality as I continue to build this project. I was looking at the economic, political, social, but regarding the erased traditions, spiritual traditions, I will put also Christian Zionism. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
Assalamu alaikum to our listeners, and good evening.
Sure, Assalamu alaikum to